What's up, losers? Today I'm back with another r/am I the arsehole adventure. Checking out a couple of interesting stories, of some spicy interpersonal drama. Sharing my opinions on them. And delivering my verdicts on who the true arseholes are in each of them. This is episode 13 in the Am I the Arsehole series. And I've got some juicy posts lined up for this one. So without further ado, let's get into it. The first post is by user Grubby Housewife, and it is titled, Am I the Arsehole, for offending a plus-size person, and possibly body shaming them? Oh boy, here we go.
I was taking a long flight, 8 hours, last week. I boarded the plane and took my seat. Soon a woman came, and took her seat next to me. Now, I am all for body positivity. Everyone is beautiful, and I do not mean any offense when I say, this woman was extremely large. I'm quite a small person, and I was a little nervous about sitting next to her. But of course I didn't want to assume anything negative, and hoped for the best. As soon as she sat down, I realized this arrangement wasn't going to work. The seat clearly couldn't accommodate her size, and she was spilling out on both the aisle side and onto my seat. When the flight attendant asked us to put down our armrests, I literally couldn't do it. The woman didn't seem at all bothered by this. Immediately after takeoff, she starts muttering about how warm she was, and I quickly noticed she was becoming increasingly sweaty. Half her body was pressing into me, and I could feel the sweat building up on the fabric of her clothes, and where our arms were squished together. When the food trolley came around, she moved even further into my space to make way and allow it to go down the aisle. Once it had passed us, she didn't move back. At this point, I was incredibly claustrophobic, and on the verge of a panic attack. I cannot stress enough how little of my own seat I was occupying. I tried to be polite when I asked her if there was any way she could give me a little bit more space, as I am a little overwhelmed with the flight and how close together we were. She immediately grew defensive, and told me I should have booked an extra seat if I wanted more space. At this point I was totally overwhelmed, and starting to hyperventilate, and still she wasn't making any attempt to move. I looked at her and told her I didn't need extra space. I only needed the entirety of the space that I paid for. She still didn't get the hint, and called me entitled, and told me to take it up with the airline when we land, and to suck it up, like the rest of us. Until then, I didn't know what to do. I couldn't even get out of my seat to stretch, because she was in the aisle seat and wouldn't budge. Eventually I asked an air hostess if there were any other seats available. The woman immediately started crying, and told the air hostess I had been body shaming her the whole flight. I felt terrible. I didn't mean to cause offense, and I really didn't feel I had any choice. But I definitely could have been more patient. Am I the asshole?
Oh damn, that actually sounds like a really unpleasant experience. To feel the panic creeping up on you, but be trapped in there, with no way out, and still be unable to get her to move. That's pretty much a nightmare scenario, as far as I'm concerned. And I can see why OP felt the need to do something to extricate themselves from the situation. No one wants to have a panic attack on an airplane. And frankly, no one wants to have someone intruding into their seat space, and sweating all over them either. So I have a hard time faulting OP for taking action. And if anything, I think a lot of people would have been much less patient and understanding than OP was. I have to admit, at the beginning of the post, I was somewhat sympathetic to the fat woman, because she probably didn't mean any harm in the things that she was doing. She might not have realized how tight she was going to be squeezed in. And I figured that the situation was likely just as painful for her as it was for OP. But as the post went on, and I heard more and more about her, my sympathy almost entirely evaporated. Like, telling OP that they should have booked an extra seat for more space. The frick, OP is not the one who is taking up more than one seat and invading other people's space. It's not unreasonable for them to want to be able to sit in their seat without being smushed into oblivion. It's unreasonable for you to feel entitled to other people's space, simply by virtue of your size. I mean, what would this woman have done if the person sitting next to them had been just as fat as they were? Sat quietly as the two of them melted into one amorphous blob. Never uttering a word of complaint. I highly doubt it. No, she was banking on there being someone smaller next to her, so that she could effectively have 1.5 seats to herself, and when OP tries to claim back the other half seat that they paid for, she acts like OP is the one asking for too much. Give me a break. All of this makes the woman's subsequent outburst about OP, body shaming her, even more difficult to stomach. Like, you were literally taking advantage of how much bigger you were than OP. To claim space that was not yours. And you have the nerve to play the victim. Get the frick out of here. All OP did was try to make some space, so that they wouldn't have a damn panic attack. They were perfectly respectful, and you still refused to cooperate. It's not fat shaming to observe that someone is literally squishing you and sweating all over you, and for you to expect OP to just shut up and take it. Really speaks to your crappy attitude and sense of entitlement. So in light of all that, I am not inclined to let this woman off the hook and say that she didn't mean any harm, because regardless of how she expected things to go before she bought her ticket and got on the plane, the way she handled things once on board was utterly selfish and childish. OP is in the right, and the fat woman is the asshole. No doubt about it. Moving on. The next post is by user Throwaway Goodbye 7, and it is titled, Am I the Asshole for telling my boyfriend that he embarrassed me when he waved me goodbye after dropping me off at work?
My female 26 car broke down several weeks ago. My boyfriend, Nick, male 29, drives me to and from work every day, which I'm thankful for. However, he has this habit of waving me goodbye every time he drops me off at work. I mean hand-up waving type of waving. It didn't bother me much at first, till one of my coworkers saw him, and brought up to the whole department later to laugh about it. I was livid that day. Nick came to pick me up, and I didn't say anything till we got home. That's when I flipped out, and told him that the way he was waving me goodbye, like I was some 5-year-old girl, embarrassed me in front of my coworkers. He acted confused, and said he didn't get what was wrong in what he was doing, and was just doing a nice gesture. I told him he should have used some other method, like a text or something. But he argued that first of all, he's doing me a favor, dropping off / picking me up every day using his car, and driving extra 20 minutes to get to his own work. And that second of all, my coworkers were rude to think this was something they would get a laugh from, and said I should be mad at them, not him. Instead of saying, I embarrassed him, we argued some, and he stopped speaking to me for the rest of the night. I feel like an idiot. I mean, I appreciate his favor, but to wave at me like I was a schoolgirl really got my coworkers laughing, and making me the butt of their weird joking habit. Am I the asshole for telling him he embarrassed me?
Wow, some people really have no idea how lucky they are. Huh. OP is fortunate enough to have a boyfriend who lovingly supports her by going out of his way to drop her off at work every day. And instead of appreciating the hell out of him, and recognizing just how lucky she is, she acts like an immature, entitled little brat, makes something as cute and wholesome as waving her goodbye into some kind of crime, and blows up on him over it like a total nutjob. Unfricking believable. Man, the fact that there are so many lonely single people out there, while people like this OP take great partners like Nick for granted, is nothing short of a travesty. The way this whole thing went down is also super weird. As far as OP herself didn't even have an issue with the waving, until the coworkers made a thing about it, at which point she immediately became, quote, livid over it. I can't be the only one who finds that rapid change of opinion really jarring. Right, it's bizarre. It's the sort of thing you would expect from a 12-year-old. Not a 26-year-old grown-ass adult. And I'm not sure what to make of that. I guess OP just never grew up for some reason. Strange. Also, I'm a little skeptical of the way that OP describes the coworkers mocking her. As far as, it seems pretty unlikely to me, that other adults would seriously view a wave from one's partner as worthy of ridicule. And I can't help but wonder if they didn't just think that the waving was cute, and lightly tease her over it, not even considering that it would cause any offense. Obviously, this theory relies on OP basically having no idea what's going on. But frankly, based on the lack of social awareness that she exhibits in the post, there's no ruling that possibility out. Either way, this is all speculation, and whatever the nature of the jokes was, it wouldn't make OP's appalling behavior any better. I just thought I would put it out there as something to consider. But anyway, yeah, OP is the asshole. 100%. And the co-workers, if they were legitimately making fun of OP, and not just lightly teasing her, are assholes too. Nick is, from all available information, a great guy, and he honestly deserves so much better than what he's getting from OP. So for his sake, I sincerely hope that OP either gets her attitude sorted out quick smart, or gets dumped in favor of someone who will actually appreciate his efforts. Because my man deserves that much. At the very least. The last post I'm going to check out is by user Next Leadership 2388. And it is titled, "Am I the Asshole for mocking my annoying coworker after she'd been in an accident?" Let's jump in.
I have a coworker, Hannah, who hates the fact that I come to work by car. Every time I mention traffic, parking, or I'm a little late, she goes, "Why don't you bike to work instead?" Or, "Should have taken the tram, it's immune to traffic, the bike park has plenty of space," etc. It's incredibly annoying, and she always does this. A few days ago, a car turned on Hannah while she was riding her bike to work, and she suffered some very minor injuries. Nothing serious, just a broken arm and a concussion. Our team put together a little present for her. Everybody wrote a note, and another coworker delivered it to Hannah's apartment. My note said, "Should have come by car." I thought it was a funny joke, but apparently not. It got delivered to her, and she told the others, who came to me and called me petty and insensitive, and are now acting very cold towards me. I think they are overreacting. It was just a joke. Am I the asshole?
Good lord, psychopathic much. Imagine seeing your coworker get hit by a car, and badly hurt, and instead of showing even a morsel of genuine concern, you take advantage of the opportunity to exact your petty revenge over some offhand comments that you've been stewing over. Unbelievable. What's the bet that OP's favorite hobby as a child was skinning neighborhood cats, or setting fire to local schools? Yikes. I don't know what gave OP the idea that a broken arm and a concussion are nothing serious, but I'm here to tell them that on the contrary, those injuries are absolutely serious, painful, and debilitating. Broken arms can cause a great deal of discomfort, and take a long time to heal, sometimes leaving lingering damage beyond that time. And concussions can also be extremely stressful and disruptive, and affect people for months after the initial impact. And that's not even going into the psychological trauma that Hannah might have experienced from having a car suddenly plow into her. For OP to dismiss all of that as nothing serious, and go ahead with the joke, is extremely unempathetic and cruel. And I'm glad that Hannah and the other coworkers called them out on it. And in case anyone wants to make the case that dark humor can be funny, I agree. Dark jokes can be funny. And even the joke OP made could theoretically have been funny. But only under different circumstances. For such a joke to be appropriate, you would have to know that the other party was likely to be receptive. And you would have to be telling the joke with good intentions. Clearly Hannah didn't appreciate the joke. So the first of these criteria has not been met. And clearly OP didn't have good intentions, given that they were seriously upset at Hannah over the car comments. And looking to get back at her. So basically, there's no reasonable defense that I can identify for OP's behavior here. It's vicious and gross, and more than warrants the stamp of arseholedom. OP, arsehole. Everyone else, not the arsehole. Those are my verdicts. And really, it was never in doubt. Well, that's all I've got for you today. I hope you had fun reading through these posts with me, and that you found my commentary at all insightful or entertaining. What do you think? Is it entitled to not want half of your seat to be taken up by your obese neighbor on an 8-hour flight? Is waving goodbye to your girlfriend an unforgivable crime? Is kicking someone when they're down after a serious accident funny banter? Who was the biggest arsehole in today's rather competitive field? Let me know in the comments. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, or I'll hit you with my car. Make a joke about how you should have chosen a different transport option. Then wave goodbye to you as you lie bruised and broken in the street. Just kidding, haha. Anyway, catch you later.